In Chapter 9, we're going to explore the concept of user domain policies and information system security. Our learning objectives for this chapter are to describe different ISS policies and understand the key concepts associated with governance, user governance. The user domain is going to play a critical role in ensuring the security of an organization's information systems. So it encompasses regular users to interact with the system on a daily basis, as well as privileged users who have elevated access, rights, and responsibilities. Now, to govern users effectively, organizations also have to implement various policies. One of these policies is the acceptable use policy. That's going to outline the rules and guidelines for using the organization's IT assets. Additionally, privilege level access agreements are put in place to regulate and monitor the actions of privileged users who have elevated access privileges. Another important policy was the security awareness policy. This aims to educate and promote a culture of security among users. So this policy helps the users understand their roles in safeguarding sensitive information, recognizing potential threats, and following security's best practices. Now, we're also going to look at the difference between public and private user domain policies. Public organizations often have specific regulations and guidelines that they have to adhere to, while private organizations may have a little bit more flexibility in developing their own policies. So, in the realm of information security, organizations must not overlook the critical factor of human involvement. So, now, despite the advanced technological safeguards that are put in place, social engineering remains a significant vulnerability that can exploit human weaknesses. Now, social engineering can take the various forms. It can be a phishing email, phone scams, impersonations, and then it can occur at any time within any organization. The human mistakes are a common occurrence, and they can inadvertently lead to security breaches. So, even well-intentioned individuals, they can sometimes fall victims of social engineering tactics, or they can make errors that compromise information security. So it's essential to recognize that people who use computers have different skill levels and different perceptions of information security. Some of them may be very tech savvy and cautious, others may be less knowledgeable and more prone to overlooking potential risk. So, to address the weakest link in information security, organizations must prioritize employee education and awareness. Security awareness training programs, um, they can provide employees with the necessary knowledge and the skills they need to identify and respond to social engineering attacks effectively. So, by promoting a culture of security and providing regular training sessions, organizations then can teach their employees to become active participants in safeguarding that sensitive information. It's important to remember that information security is a shared responsibility. While technology plays an important role, human actions and decisions ultimately are going to shape the security landscape. Now, the threat posed by insiders within an organization is a significant concern. The insiders are going to refer to individuals who have authorized access to an organization's systems, networks, and data. This category is going to include employees, contractors, or anyone with legitimate access to that sensitive information. Now, there are various threats, various motives that insider threats can have. Could be personal gain, dissatisfaction, or sometimes even unintentional access and unintentional actions. So insiders may exploit vulnerabilities in applications, systems, or processes, whether they know they're doing it or not. These vulnerabilities can be leveraged to compromise the organization's security and expose sensitive data. Now, one effective strategy to combat insider threats is to implement security awareness training programs. So, by providing a comprehensive training and education, Organizations can equip their employees with the knowledge and skills they can use to identify and report suspicious activities, any potential vulnerabilities, and they also learn the importance of adhering to security policies and procedures. Now, the security awareness training, this should focus on raising awareness about the risk associated with insider threats. Um, it should include the potential impact on the organization's reputation, financial losses, and legal consequences. Training sessions can include real world examples, case studies, and interactive exercises as a way to engage employees and reinforce their learning. Also, organizations should also establish clear policies and procedures regarding acceptable use of systems and networks, access control mechanisms, and incident reporting. Also, have regular reminders and updates about these policies, and that can help reinforce the security practices and maintain vigilance among the employees. Keep in mind that it's very important, though, that your security training, your security awareness training, is an ongoing process, and it should be held regularly uh, to update any emerging threats and vulnerabilities uh, and the needs to address those. Now, there are several types of users within an organization. These users can be categorized into these different roles based on their level of access, responsibilities, and relationships with the organizations. So, looking at these 7 types of users, the category of employees, the regular employees who work with the organization. They have different levels of access to the system, networks, and data based on their jobs, roles, and responsibilities. Your system admins are responsible for managing and maintaining the organization's IT infrastructure. This includes servers, networks, databases. They will have elevated privileges, and they play a crucial role in ensuring the security and functionality of the systems. Now, the security personnel are dedicated to the organization's security operations. These are such as security analysts, incident responders, and security managers. They're responsible for monitoring, detecting, and responding to security incidents and ensuring compliance with security policies. Contractors are external individuals or teams that are hired by the organization to work on a specific project or provide a specialized service. They may require temporary access to the organization's systems and data. Vendors or third party uh, individuals or companies that provide goods and services to the organization. They also may require access to certain systems or networks to fulfill their contractual obligations. The guests and general public, these are individuals that may have temporary or limited access to the organization's uh, systems or the premises. These are visitors to the buildings, clients, customers who interact with the organization's services and facilities. Now, partners are external entities that have shared responsibilities for the security and compliance of certain systems and data. These are things that can be considered business partners, suppliers, and other organizations involved in joint ventures or collaborations. So now we're going to look at contingent and system accounts. Contingent accounts are typically associated with disaster recovery scenarios and are used during emergency situations. Um, they may need the unlimited rights to install, configure, repair, recover network applications, and restore the data. So they're granted those rights, those extensive rights, so they can perform these very quickly and get the organization back up and going. Now, since these accounts possess elevated privileges, they do become attractive targets for malicious actors that are seeking unauthorized access. So, to mitigate these risks that are associated with contingent accounts, organizations often employ strict controls, such as not assigning specific individuals to the accounts, until a disaster recovery event has declared. Um, this helps ensure that only authorized personnel can access these accounts when required. Now, the system accounts, they need elevated privileges to start, stop, and manage system services. These accounts are granted elevated privileges to perform critical system level tasks efficiently. These can be categorized as interactive or non-interactive. Now, interactive accounts are used by administrators who directly interact with the system, while the non-interactive accounts perform automated tasks without requiring direct user interaction. Now, these will also be referred to as service accounts, and the reason is because they are primarily responsible for managing and maintaining essential uh, system services. Also, due to their elevated privileges, system accounts need to be carefully managed and monitored to prevent unauthorized access and misuse. Now, a way that you can enhance the security of the contingents and system accounts is the organization should adopt a robust practice. This includes implementing strong authentication mechanisms such as multi-factor authentication. This is to protect the credentials associated with those accounts. Regularly reviewing and updating access controls and permissions to ensure that only authorized individuals have access to those accounts. You also want to monitor and audit activities associated with these accounts to detect and respond to any suspicious or unauthorized activities. You would implement privileged access management solutions. This is to tightly control and manage the usage of the accounts, including session monitoring and access um, revocation. You also want to regularly conduct the security awareness training programs for the employees. And in this one, you can emphasize the importance of safeguarding credentials and understanding the risk associated with the contingent and system accounts. So we're going to look at a couple of reasons why the governance of users with policies is a crucial aspect for an organization. So users require different access. So users within that organization, they're often going to have different roles and different responsibilities, and they do require the varying levels of access to systems, applications, and data. So by using user domain policies, organizations can define and enforce access controls based on the principle of least privilege. So that ensures that the users only have the necessary access that they need to perform their job functions and nothing more. So these policies help prevent unauthorized access, reduce the risk of data breaches, and protect sensitive information from being accessed or modified by individuals who don't have a legitimate business reason to do this, business requirements. Users may also need access to information from different systems or databases within the organization. So in this case, the user domain policies, this enables users or the organization to establish guidelines for assessing and handling data across different systems. Now, some of the things that may be included in these policies may be a provision for data classification, encryption, data sharing, data retention, also ensuring that the information is accessed and used appropriately while maintaining data integrity and confidentiality. Data within an organization also may have different levels of sensitivity and security requirements. So the user domain policies allow organizations to define security controls and enforce them consistently across the organization. These policies address such areas as password management, data protection measures, secure remote access, and acceptable use of organizational resources. So, by aligning security controls with specific data types and user requirements, this allows organizations where they can mitigate risk and safeguard sensitive information effectively. Now, governance users policies This may be something that's essential due to regulatory requirements that mandate the implementation of security policies. So, a few of these key regulators, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2022, excuse me, 2002. This was enacted to enhance the corporate accountability and transparency, particularly for publicly traded companies in the United States. So it requires organizations to establish and enforce internal controls, including security policies, to protect the financial data and ensure the accuracy of financial reporting. Now, user domain policies, this does play an important role in defining user access, defining access controls, segregation of duties, and data protection measures that allow it to comply with the SOX requirements. The HIPAA sets the standards for the protection of personal health information and privacy rights for individuals. It requires covered entities such as healthcare providers and health insurers to implement policies and safeguards to secure the personal health information and ensure the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. User domain policies are vital for governing users' access to the PHI. It implements role-based access controls and maintaining audit trails to comply with HIPAA regulations. Now, the European Data Protection Directive, that's a comprehensive data protection regulation that applies to organizations handling the personal data of European Union residents. So it's saying it requires the implementation of appropriate technical and organization measures to protect the personal data. Now, an acceptable use policy, this is a component of the user domain policies. It's very important. It outlines the guidelines and rules for appropriate use of an organization's computers and network resources. So some of the key elements of a AUP include the basics of protecting computers and network. So it educates users on the importance of protecting the computers and network resources from unauthorized access, malware, and other security risks. So some of the items that may be included in this include guidelines for keeping software and operating systems up to date, using antivirus software, and practicing safe browsing habits. The AUP also emphasizes the significance of creating strong, unique passwords and not sharing them with others. So it may outline password requirements such as minimal length, the complexity, and regular password changes to ensure the account safety. It also addresses the proper use and management of software license. So it informs users about restrictions on unauthorized installation, copying, or distribution of software, and emphasizes compliances with those license agreements. The AUP also highlights the importance of respecting intellectual property rights, including copyrights and trademarks. So it prohibits users from engaging in activities such as unauthorized downloading, sharing copyrighted material, or using intellectual property without proper permission. There's also guidelines for appropriate email usage. This includes professional and respectful communications, refraining from sending spam or malicious content, and following email retention policies. The AUP also clarifies the level of privacy that individuals can expect when using organizations' computer systems and networks. So it's going to explain any monitoring or logging activities conducted by the organization to ensure the security, compliance, and or other legitimate purposes. Now, there's also a potential consequences for non-compliance that will be outlined in the policy. This will include things such as the disciplinary actions, access restriction, or termination of user privileges. This is there to help enforce the accountability and encourages users to adhere to the policy guidelines. Now, the privilege level access agreement, this is a specific type of agreement that's used to address the risk associated with elevated access privileges within the organization. So some of the key elements of this include the potential that it acknowledges the potential risks and consequences associated with having privilege across the sensitive system networks and data. So it's going to emphasize the importance of safeguarding these access credentials and potential impact if they're breached or misused. The PAA also requires users to acknowledge and agree to use their privileged access solely for approved organizational business purposes. So it emphasizes that the use of these credentials should be limited to tasks and activities that are within the scope of their responsibility and align with the organization's policies and procedures. The PAA explicitly states that users are prohibited from attempting to hack into systems or breaching security controls. It's going to emphasize the importance of respecting and adhering to the organization's security measures and not engaging in any unauthorized access or malicious activities. It also asks users to promise to protect any output for these credentials. This is your reports, logs, files, downloads, um, or any other sensitive information obtained during the authorized access. Security awareness policy. It's an essential component to the organization's information security program. This aims to educate and inform employees about various aspects of information security and also to cultivate a culture of security awareness. So, some of the key elements typically covered in a SAP, security awareness policy, as the basic principles of information security. So, it provides employees with an understanding of the fundamental principles and concepts of information security. It covers topics such as confidentiality, integrity, availability, and the importance of protecting the sensitive data. Also, the awareness of risk and threats. It raises the awareness among employees about the potential risk and threats to the information security. It's going to educate them about the common security threats such as social engineering, phishing, malware, unauthorized access, and it provides guidelines on how to recognize and respond to these threats. The SAP also equips employees with the knowledge and skills to handle unexpected security risks or incidents. So it's going to outline the appropriate steps taken in the event of a security incident, such as reporting incidents promptly, containing the impact, and following the incident response procedures. It's also going to emphasize the importance of reporting any suspicious activity, incidents, or potential breaches promptly. So it's going to provide clear guidelines on how to report such incidents and who to contact with the organization's incident response or security team. Now, the SAP also helps to build a culture that is security and risk aware. It promotes the adoption of security best practices, adherence to the policies and procedures, and also ongoing diligence in identifying and mitigating security risk. So, Who requires security awareness training? Now, this is typically required by all of these groups. So, all users. Okay, this includes all employees across the organization, regardless of their role or level within the company. All users should receive basic security awareness training to ensure that they understand their responsibilities in maintaining information security. All users really covers most of this. Um, Executives, top level management, they play a crucial role in setting the tone for security awareness within the organization. They should receive specialized training to understand the strategic importance of information security and to make informed decisions regarding security initiatives. Now, the program and functional managers, they're responsible for overseeing specific projects or departments. They need to have specialized training to understand the strategic importance um, to their department. They need to be aware of security risks related to their areas of responsibility and also ensure that the appropriate security measures have been implemented. The IT security program managers, they're individuals that are directly involved in managing the organization's IT security program. So they're going to require a comprehensive security awareness training to effectively develop, implement, and maintain security policies, procedures, and controls. Now, the auditors, regardless of whether they're internal or external, they need a solid understanding of information security policies and principles to assess the effectiveness of the security controls, identify any vulnerabilities, and provide recommendations for improvement. And the last group of IT function management and operations personnel. So this group includes IT managers, system administrators, network administrators, and other IT staff. They're going to need specialized security awareness training, and that's to ensure that they can implement and maintain the appropriate security measures for the IT systems and the infrastructure. Now, there are some best practices for user domain policies. Some of these include that users should never open email attachments from untrusted or unknown sources. So attachments can contain malicious code that can compromise the security of a system. So you want to exercise caution and verify the source before opening attachments. The encryption, you want to always encrypt sensitive data anytime it leaves the confines of a secure system. So anytime it's transmitted out of that secure servers, this helps protect the confidentiality and integrity of the data, making it harder for unauthorized individuals to access or manipulate it. You also want to implement a layered defense approach. This involves establishing multiple overlapping layers of security controls. This includes using combinations of firewall, intrusion detection systems, access controls, and other security measures that create a more robust and comprehensive security posture. You want to follow the principle of least privilege. Okay, this is granting users only the access rights and privileges necessary to perform their specific responsibility. This reduces the risk of unauthorized access and limits the potential damage that can be caused by compromised accounts. You also want to regularly update and apply the latest security patches to all network devices. This includes your servers, workstations, and other devices. The patch management, it helps address known vulnerabilities and protects against exploits that target those vulnerabilities. Also, every user should have a unique set of credentials. This includes your username and passwords that's used to access the system and resources. This is done to ensure accountability and make it easier to track and manage user activities. You also want to install and regularly update antivirus and malware prevention software on every desktop and laptop computer. So this helps detect and prevent the execution of malicious code and protects against the various types of malware threats. So to understand the least access privileges and best fit access privileges, we're going to look at a scenario. So we're going to consider a company with various departments that includes sales, marketing, finance. So within the finance department, there are going to be different roles such as an accountant, financial analyst, and a finance manager. So each of these roles are going to require access to specific systems and data to perform their respective job functions. So looking at the least access privileges. So we're going to look at the case of the accountant. Their access should be customized to their individual needs. They should have access to only the financial systems and data that's relevant to their specific responsibilities, such as the accounting software, budgeting tools, and financial reports. They shouldn't have access to marketing database or sales related information. Now, on the other hand, when it comes to a group or class of users, such as the financial analyst, their access can be customized based on their shared needs and responsibilities. So financial analysts, they may require access to the same financial systems and data that the accountants have, but they also need additional permissions to generate financial forecasts, collect data analysis, and create financial models. So their access can be tailored to their specific job requirements as a group. So applying the principle of least privilege, both individual users, which will have the least access privileges, and the groups of users, the best fit privileges, they have the access rights that are specifically aligned to their job roles and responsibilities. Now, this helps minimize the risk of unauthorized access or accidental data breaches while enabling the users to perform their tasks efficiently. All right, so wrap up chapter 9. We've looked at governing users with policies in the user domain and how it is crucial for maintaining information system security. So some of the key points that we have covered is that we want to look at the reasons for governing users with policies. So users within organizations can be classified as either regular users or privileged users, and they each require different levels of access and responsibilities. We've looked at the acceptable use policy and the privilege level access agreement. We've talked about the SAP, the security awareness policy, and how it aims to inform workers about the basic principles of information security, raise awareness of risk and threats, and provide guidance on dealing with unexpected risks, and also encourage reporting suspicious activity or breaches. This helps build a security and risk-aware culture within the organization. And finally, we looked at the difference between public and private user domain policies. Public user domain policies, um, these are applicable to external users such as customers or partners, and they focus on defining acceptable use of public resources and services. Private user domain policies, on the hand, those are internal policies that govern the behavior and access privileges of employees within the organization. So all of these policies, all of them play a crucial role in establishing a secure user environment, managing access privileges, promoting security awareness, and protecting sensitive information from unauthorized access or misuse.